Hello, namaste. This is Sneh Sunny. I am the host for your Sunny Side Up show. I have today Shan Ghoshal. We call him Shan Dada. He is a marketing veteran by profession. He's also the founder of the project Hindukush, the Hindu Genocide Watch. His organization is attempting to get the scientific study about this whole genocide of the Hindus over 1400 of years. So welcome, Shan, to Sunny Side Up.
Hi,
And
good to be here.
tell me a little bit about yourself. I have just given a little brief introduction. I'm sure you're going to give us in-depth introduction.
Well, first of all, viewers, I'm very pleased to be here. Sunny, thank you very much for the invitation. It's not very often that we get to talk about subjects that I dwell in. Okay, to start off, I grew up in beautiful Tilottama, Kolkata. There's another name for that for people who doesn't know. The beautiful city of palaces, city of light, city of joy. And I left India about 25 years ago, been around different countries, currently settled in London, and I run a marketing agency for a living. And as of last 2 years, I founded this organization called Project Hindukush.com, which is the first scientific study, a thorough study of 1400 years of genocide, which is the longest running genocide ever in this world. And the saddest part of it is still ongoing. It hasn't ended. From the first invasion of Sindh, in the 1400 years ago till now, it's still going on. So we are attempting it's a behemoth of a task, as you can imagine, and we are under-resourced because we don't take any money from any organizations. We try to stay self-funded so that, we are not biased or forced biased by anyone. Mm-hmm. And in last, about 18 months of the platform being in existence, we have, I don't know what word to use, fortunately or unfortunately, been able to log over nearly 100 million crimes against Hindus. Of different categories, from arson to rape to murder. And I am of a firm belief that we have just started scratching the surface of this monster. The final number when you're done is going to be obscenely high, unbelievably high.
So this project you have, is this only in India or is it across the globe?
I know our objective is to report across the globe, but look, if you look at the case of the Hindu genocide, we divide it up in 3 different time frames. One is the present, which is the current affairs that's happening right now, right? So every day that's happening. And then we use something called the near past that covers us from, like, say, for example, 1980s beginning and going all the way back to like 1840s, 1847, something like that. And beyond that, we call it the classical era, right? So where we are still trying to find out the socio-political impact of the Turkic rule in India under the guise of the Mughals, and so on. So the classical and the near past is mostly always you'll find based within the Indian subcontinent, because that's where the Hindus have been reduced down to by that particular point. So, a bigger question that might ask, what is being defined as a Hindu? And we are probably not going to open that can today. But in a usual liberal sense of the word, the Hindus are people who follows the Hindu Dharma or the Sanatan Dharma as we stand right now. So the near past and the classical will cover you, like, for example, what happened in Afghanistan, what happened in Pakistan, what happened in Bangladesh, Burma, Nepal, Bhutan, and so on, right? So that will be very much limited to the Indian subcontinent. But as we have seen the social media with news media growing, it has given us a bit of a ability to monitor situations across the world. So the point I'm trying to make, the current affairs that we report on is global. So we can monitor anything that is happening towards our Hindu, Ashmita across the globe. So, for example, if a Qatari lady thinks that breaking a Ganesha Murti is fashionable, if you remember that news flashed a few years ago,
yes,
that we will cover. If fake Sikh, as they call them, the Khalistanis, decides that graffiting what temple in Sydney is en vogue, we will report that. We'll pick up on that. We'll categorize that as a crime and we'll archive that.
Right.
So our near past and classical is India-centric, and our current affairs is global.
So you have reporters sitting across the globe who come and cover this and tell you, and then you guys have some sort of
Yeah,
system in place.
exactly that. Exactly that. So we have got systems in place and we've got individuals in place who are monitoring media 24/7. And we have got a data collection team, then we have got a data curation team, then we have got a publishing team. So data collection team, obviously, as you can imagine, they will look around and ensure that relevant data is being passed on to the curation team. Then curation team will make a decision if it is going to get passed on and published, and the editorial team will pick that up and then publish it.
So when you say you publish it, and then does the general public get to read it? Or
yeah, absolutely.
So okay, so where do they go to settings now?
No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's projecthindukush.com. If you just scroll down from the website, you will see the crimes being reported in real time. And what we specify about, what has happened. Say, for example, what exactly is the nature of the crime and where it has happened. And then you try to categorize that in different subcategories. Like, is it a crime against a woman? Is it a crime against is it a sexual crime against a woman? Is it a sexual crime against a man? Has there been a temple vandalism going on? Has the temple been burned down? How many shops has been burned down? Has somebody's house been burned down? How many individuals do we see being displaced as a reaction or a cause of this particular action? And whatever is the news available about who the perpetrators are, right? This is not something we are doing any kind of guessing game. We are pretty much living it on what has been reported.
So that's actually the real data. When people come to you, you can say, hey, you can say, to give them the evidence and say, this is exactly what happened.
Exactly. So the current affairs is done like that. Now we are working, obviously, the classical side of things is going to take some more time, because that is basically going through documents that is not in English. So there's lots of Farsi reading, lots of Urdu reading is going on, and people who have got that kind of skills are limited, and people who has that kind of skills and wants to volunteer are even more scarce. So it's going to take us some time, but we'll get there.
Do you get your volunteers easily?
No. Not at all. I must say, we don't rely that much on volunteers, to be very honest, because sometimes I come from a very commercial background, and very private sector background, and I've always found that people may want to volunteer for a particular task, but they may not be the best person for the particular task, right?
Right.
I may want to volunteer to drive Michael Schumacher's car, but I'm probably not the best person placed for that particular job. Okay. Right. So we tend to hire talent as and when possible. Sometimes we do get some volunteers helping us out, and I'm grateful for their support. But initially, even when we started this platform, when it was in an idea stage, I'm talking about, say, for example, going back a couple of years now, time flies, almost a couple of years now. So when the idea was in a kernel shape, it's just an idea, and I wanted to hire people are going to listen to the subject matter and they're going to run. So they're not going to take your phone calls. So you'll interview them and we'll tell them, what we are trying to achieve, and they're going to just run. They're going to cancel interviews, hang up the phone, and go. Worst case scenario, they'll start lecturing you. What is the validity of this? Would you be talking about the other side of the story? Do you know how many Hindu kings killed in a Hindu, prajas and so on? How many evil Hindu kings you have had? So we had to go through the whole thing. It almost felt like we're triggering them, in a way. So they're like, oh my God, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about it. So it was very difficult, but initially, but slowly, we found a few more lunatics like me who came and banded together, and now we have a platform, which is again going through lots of changes. He's going to get even better, but does his job quite well.
So you also, listening to you, looks like you do have some security threats comes with it. Is that what scared people away, or have you been ever scared because people have been horrible to you, or some life threats and all that? Does it come with the package?
Yeah, I think to some extent comes with the territory. That's why my publishing team and my team is always a secret. Nobody knows who they are. So and people do dig. And people do dig, where is this team based? So who works for you? Who does what? I think most of my team members doesn't even know who the other person is, because everything is done under a moniker, passwords and stuff. So it's all in a need to know basis. And I am the only face of the whole thing, because if there's any threats that needs to come, that should come to me, because it was my idea, not somebody who is doing a job for me. And it shouldn't be their prerogative in security. And yeah, There has been cases, where I've been given some threats by phone, by Facebook. Initially, obviously, it rattles you a little bit because to say that you're not rattled at all will be a lie. When you can hear a very suave Pakistani accent, calling you up and say, I know where you live. I said, that's not a secret. Everybody knows where I live. I know where you live. Jokes apart. So, but rattled probably is not the right word, but concerned is. But more than my physical well-being, I think, what we suffer a lot from, or we get a lot, is abuse on the website, in the sense like, we get irregular, hack attacks on this. But thankfully, we have not been compromised yet. And we have been forced to take lots of countermeasures for that, and which has been very expensive countermeasures. Right. So that's a lot of our resources goes towards site security, data security, and so on, because we get regular DDoS attacks, almost like every second day.
I mean, you said your funding is limited. So is it self-funded? Looks like
absolutely self-funded. Initially when I started, I'll give you the story of it. Initially when I started, I thought obviously it was my idea, so it must be a great idea, right? Then everybody validated, like, hey, no, it's a good idea, you should do it. And then I thought, okay, it is not easy. So at the moment, we have got a number of people on payroll in different parts of the world, site security, my time, and etc. That's quite a bit of a chunk of change, that goes into this every month. So initially, when I started, I thought it's such a great idea. The Hindus should really support. It shouldn't be my own, mission. It should be a community-led kind of an effort. So I created something out of my folly, that we should call it something called the Maharathi of Hindukush, right? So how do you become Maharathi of Hindukush? You donate like £2 a month, right?
Okay.
£2 a month, seriously, £2. You can't even get a coffee for that in Central London. So I said, everybody contribute £2 a month, and we have got something. So that didn't fly at all. So people are like, okay, let me think about it. So you know what? I'm going to make it even easier. I'm going to make it £1 a month. Can you contribute £1 a month? Then I sent a few emails around, and I'm very glad to tell you, after 3 months of asking people for this, we have had 8 subscribers. So there's 8 people spending £8 with us every month. So at one point I said, okay, look, we're going to cancel this because it's not going to work out. So we canceled the subscription. But I think in the whole journey, 8 people have said, okay, we're going to give you £1 a month, which is. And then I thought, because it's so demoralizing, and it just takes me off the game. I was like, I'll fund it as much as I can, as long as I can. And when you get stuck, we'll see. But we are not stuck yet.
But this is what I find about doing something for the community, like you're doing for Hindus. And we all are Hindus. And should we not all chip in and help you out and say, hey, Shan, we are there for you, funding wise. We are happy to spend £50, £100 for a lunch sometimes. Yeah. So just for one person, we go to these parties where the ticket is around £100 per person. Yeah. So can we not afford to pay £1 a month? Maybe you coming to this platform, possibly maybe we can outreach more people who can connect with you and say, hey, Shan, let's contribute to you. So your Hindukush Project, in fact, our Hindukush Project can go forward, and we Hindus can be protected, because so much have been happening around the world against Hindus. Even in Britain, where we live, where we have a Hindu prime minister, even in here, we see all sorts of discriminations happening against us and all that. And yet, if Hindus are still going to keep quiet about the whole thing, it's a shame on a community then, isn't it?
I mean, it is. But I think, it is I do have very radical thoughts about it, as you can imagine. But because I kind of look at this data day in and day out, and still function, because the kind of things we see before breakfast, you're probably not going to be able to eat all day. When the crime reports and the photographic evidences and everything comes in, and we make a decision, what goes to public, what doesn't go to public. But nonetheless, we are exposed to that content before even we may decide it is not good for public consumption, and by the time it has come to that point, we have consumed that. So believe it or not, some of my members, core team, is compulsory talking therapy for them. I made it compulsory for them that there is no excuses, no questions. You have to go for every second week. We have got set up done, for talking therapy, just to get it off their chest, because it is no normal human being should be subjected to watch that kind of horror every day in and day out. You do get sanitized after a while, but it never goes away from you.
It's like same thing, like MOD. If you work for Ministry of Defense and if you're looking at the data, it sometimes is so disturbing that you cannot come home and have a good sleep. I know, and that's the reason when this Ministry of Defense soldiers come home, they half of the time are not mentally stable.
Yeah, they suffer from PTSD. I'm not going to go that far and say that we suffer from PTSD just yet, but we do take in a lot of negative energy every day by just looking at studying this data. But having said that, yes, it is not my project, first of all, and also I will correct you that, I'm not doing it for anyone, that, you're doing it for the Hindu cause. I'm not, to be very honest. It is my own education. If my own education and the material that comes out of my own journey benefits someone, it adds value to someone, it adds value to a cause, that's, well and good. But I am in it for a very selfish reason. I want to know my history. I want to know what happened to my people. And I want to know that story. And if me knowing the story also gets the story out, Sone pe suhaga, as they say in Hindi.
But isn't it that's what our youngsters need? We need to know our history. We need to know what happened with us, who we were, how we were, and what happens down the years. Because
absolutely. I mean, you'll find that every time they talk about the Hindu history or Indian history, for that matter, is always from a negative point of view. That how many battles we lost, how many times we are defeated by, how many people invaded us, how many people colonized us, and so on. But the truth of the matter is this is where everybody has failed. If you think about the growth of Christianity, it grew very slowly and then grew very fast when some of the Caesars made a law that you have to convert to some extent, and it made it the responsibility of the local officials to ensure that it's converted, because Europe was also very colorful, very diverse, like just we are in India right now. Different tribes, the good way of understanding is if you look at the names, most of the Western Europe is all Johns and all Josephs and all Peters. What happened to Vercingetorix? What happened to Germanic names? What happened to all the old Icelandic Viking names? All the Viking names are still there. Some of them are still there because they have resisted for a long time, and they're coming out also very fast. Even in Slovenia, you have got the fire rituals going on. They're all coming out of it very fast. Then you look at the growth of Islam. Right, it took over, most of the Middle East in matter of 1 century. Right, it took them 40 years. In 40 years, Persia has fallen. In a generation, Egypt has fallen, but it took them 400 years to come from Sindh to Delhi. Right, and yet we are 1.2 billion Hindus happily going about our business. I mean, this is where everybody has failed. So that story needs to be told. So it's not the story of a millennia of genocide. It's also a millennia of resistance.
I mean, in the current environment we are in, I think this is very much needed. That our kids, the kids who are now, they must know who we are and what our histories are, because they don't know, and that is the very reason. We are not standing for our religion, because we don't even know the depth of our religion. We don't know the depth of the hurtful things done to us. So yeah. I think this is a very good thing you are doing it. What is your future? What are you looking towards? What is your aim to achieve in a short term and in a long term?
I think in a short term, we now have started really working hard on the classical side of things, because we want to analyze them as quick as they can. But one thing about the classical accounts is they're not going away anywhere. So, I mean, people who has oppressed us, who has committed horrendous, crimes, they have been very happy to brag about it in their biographies and autobiographies and whatnot, right? People have been very happy to brag that this morning, I killed 100,000 kuffar, That's a bragging right for them. So those histories are not going anywhere. My focus is right now to, our short-term focus is right now keep on growing the way we are growing. If it is not broken, don't fix it. And long-term, our goal is to set up a news media channel to report 24/7 news media channel reporting crimes against Hindus globally. So that's our long-term goal. But initially, we're going to just keep on steadily growing the way we are.
Thank you, Shan. namaste and coming on that platform. Hopefully, we can bring some awareness to the general public, and hopefully, I just hope people can get involved in your project, and then we can have more funding, and we can have a better history for Hindus.
I mean, more than funding, we need support. We need some kind words every now and then. We need some polite mentions every now and then. And we say, for example, if you can encourage your audience to go and follow us on Twitter, like in Hindukush Live, that's a big help, because we don't have even enough funding to go and do paid marketing, but it should grow. And our Twitter is very loaded. We report every crime that we pick up.
I'm happy to share the details of your Twitter and the other account of the website, so that people can follow.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and
hope
you reach your dreams. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
प्लीज़ सब्सक्राइब द चैनल सनी साइड अप, आपका अपना चैनल जहां हम बात करते हैं सामाजिक मुद्दों पे, जहां हम बात करते हैं हिंदुइज्म की, जहां हम बात करते हैं अपने देश इंडिया की। तो प्लीज़ सब्सक्राइब कीजिए और ये चैनल को आगे से आगे बढ़ाइए। ये आपकी आवाज़ है जो मैं लेके आती हूँ। आई लव यू गाइज।